D-Dot guys, it's me, Sergeant Major Mile. What is up? Welcome to a new, a special kind of video. In case you haven't read the title, a very special someone is with me today. Would you like to introduce yourself, my friend?
Yeah, hi, I'm Nick, and I'm the guy that makes the Jeb animations.
Hello, I've stuck Nanny's Merkin on my head, so I'm just like Jeremy Clarkson.
If for some reason you have not heard of this glorious animator of the Jeb series, I'm gonna link his channel down below. Do check out the animations; they are fantastic. Some would argue childish, with some childish human stock sound effects, but I still think they kind of encapsulate some British humour in there.
Thanks for liking me. I'm vacuous and need validation. And look, I'm wearing ironic pajamas.
First one to start off with is, before we go into the main reason of the interview, I think it would be interesting to hear about your history as an animator. Was Jeb your first, or have you done many bits of animation either for paid work or for experiments?
Well, going back to the beginning, when I left university, I was a lighting cameraman, and then I ran a film unit in London for a bit, and then I became a graphic designer, and then a multimedia sort of designer, and slid into animation slightly accidentally, just because where I was working at the time, there started to be a need for animated content. And so, having had a bit of a fixation with Pixar for donkey's years, I got the opportunity to start tinkering around with 3D animation in particular. And so I started making short films. The first proper sort of short film I did quite well at festivals. And then, but it was a bit sort of, it was a bit serious, a bit of a grown-up attempt at a film. And I realised that actually what I naturally am inclined towards is doing stupid things. And so I got the opportunity to put something together for a BBC talent competition for new animators, and that's where Jeb really originated, and that's where the first Jeb's Jobs film came from, was an entry for a BBC talent competition, which I didn't get anywhere with.
Oh, that sucks. Who the hell won if Jeb did it?
I have no idea. I never saw it, so it must have been shite.
Well, Jeb was on YouTube. Your animation wasn't.
Exactly.
Okay, so
that, I mean, since then I'm basically a commercial animator. That's what I do for a living. I animate stuff for a living. So.
Oh, fair enough.
The weather at the weekend. This is technical support. For the love of God.
Well, I guess that kind of answers the second question. Like, was 3D animation something you've always always wanted to do? So what was was there a main inspiration for 3D animation, or was it like, the market demands for it, so I might as well try it, sort of thing?
It was inspiration, really. I mean, it's Pixar originally. I don't know if you remember. I think it was the first short film they did called Luxo Junior, which is the lamp and the ball.
I think that was like a DVD extra in like one of the Toy Story films. Like, keep in mind, I'm like 22, so that was like what, 16 years before I was even born.
Yep, absolutely. That shows how old I am. Thanks. Yeah, no, because that came out, I don't know, sort of mid-80s, something like that, and it was the first sort of fully CGI animated short film. There'd been, sort of tests and things floating around before then, and there was the work on the original Tron, which is all sort of done with 3D animation, printing direct onto film, and that sort of got my juices flowing. And then I saw Luxo Junior, and it was the technology was fascinating to me, but also the fact that they'd use that technology to actually tell a story and create characters. And these days, I mean, it looks phenomenally basic, but at the time it was a big deal in terms of, storytelling and animation moving away from cell animation. So that really sort of sowed the seeds for me when I was a kid. And then over sort of time, I developed this interest in trying to sort of move away from live action filmmaking into animation. And it took a while to sort of get the opportunity to do it, because back then the costs associated were absolutely enormous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like it's like, people look at stuff like nowadays, like they're like, oh, rendering times is so simple, but you look back then and that stuff took forever to sort out.
Yeah, a day a frame was not unusual at all.
Yeah, no, I mean it's essentially you mentioned like stuff looking bad at the time. It's like, I remember I was talking to my little brother when I was playing like a Nintendo 64 game, and he was like, "Oh, that doesn't look good." I was like, "That was like the thing at the like that was like the revolution."
Absolutely, absolutely. We're very spoiled these days. We take it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bollocks. Thanks, Jeb.
So this one, I did leave a comment on one of your vids. I don't know if you remember my comment exactly, but I asked about what animation software you used. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you did say that you used 3ds Max. Was that always the software you used, or have you like experimented with like other types of animation software, like maybe Maya, Blender, or even like Source Filmmaker?
Max I kind of fell into simply because it was the software that the company I was working for bought. And these packages are just so phenomenally deep in terms of learning them that sort of flipping and flopping around between different packages is quite a big challenge. I should probably be using Maya because it's traditionally used for character animation.
Yeah, 3ds Max is more the modeling. Maya's more the actual animation stuff. From what
yeah. Well, 3ds Max is you kind of go to in VFX a lot of the time, and certainly sort of modeling and sort of marketing and stuff. Whereas Maya is sort of geared more towards the character animation. But Max has got some pretty good tools in it for character animation, and because a lot of the sort of commercial stuff I do isn't the character stuff, it is the sort of VFX and you know, sort of marketing stuff. So it's a good sort of coverall for the general work that I do. It's perhaps not optimum for doing the character stuff, but it's all right. It works. It's fine.
I mean, like I've experimented with 3ds Max when I was in college as a game designer student, and 3ds Max is one of those like it is great for modeling, but whenever I like through my experience, whenever I see people make like especially your animations on 3ds Max, I'm like, how? Because I recall like Shrek was made in Maya, and I'm like, that's almost like making an animation in Maya. How did you do that?
Yeah. To get really nerdy about it, the thing I like about Max with the characters is that they have a system called Biped, which is sort of pre-built skeletons that you can customize to your character meshes. And it has some really sort of useful tools in terms of sort of storing libraries of poses in particular.
All right.
So, you know, you can literally just sort of, if you want somebody to put their hands on the hips, you can have a library of preset poses. And then you just click a button and suddenly your character's got his hands on his hips, and it saves an awful lot of time. It perhaps takes some of the finesse out of doing the work, but when you're sort of trying to do a 5-minute film yourself, you know, in your shed, as I do, having that as a shortcut is really, really handy. So it's not the perfect tool, but it's a good tool for the range of stuff that I do. So it's right.
It's quite interesting you mentioned the rigging, because considering how Jeb is just freakishly long with the tiny little stubby legs, like I'd be curious about the rigging on that thing.
Well, if you saw him with his skin off, just saw his skeleton, he's the most bizarre looking contraption.
Oh Jesus Christ. Got imagine the X-ray on that, good lord. Jeb, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Hang on. Bim bum bim.
Okay, so of course now we have to get to Jeb, which let's be honest, was kind of unavoidable. The first Jeb's Job video, which is the first on your channel, is technical support. When you were originally writing that, were you more writing from experience if you did technical support in the past, or was it more calls you assume some people in the field would occasionally get?
I did briefly work in technical support.
Oh god.
Yeah, no, for about 6 months. At a company which, what do? They designed and built digital image storage systems, which is now completely redundant because these are these great big jukebox machines where all the images are stored on CDs, and these robot pickers came and picked out the CD with the image on.
Well, that is old.
Oh god, yeah, I know, this is years ago. But anyway, I ended up there, and I had no idea what I was doing. And trying to sort of field these calls, they dealt mainly with the sort of large newspapers. So we get sort of technical calls from the image departments at these large newspapers saying our CD jukebox thing is broken. What do I need to type in to fix it? I had no clue. So I didn't last there very long. The best thing about that job, I got sent down to New Scotland Yard to go and fix their database of criminal suspects.
Oh, right, as you do.
I sat in a room by myself, not knowing what I was doing, with basically access to their entire database of criminals, which I could have just deleted quite easily, entirely accidentally, obviously. And I thought, out of my depth here. I've got to move on. So I I left there fairly sharp.
It's like, hey Nick, how's the progress on that going? I don't know, but holy shit, you guys have a lot of rapists on this server. That is like a massive security breach. What the hell were they thinking?
I know. You know, I sort of had to go in and be searched by people with machine guns slung over their shoulders. Let me loose in a room with a bloody database. What were they thinking?
Have you ever had, like, this isn't part of the questions, but have you had one of those calls that just, like, really stuck out to you, where it's like, oh my god, are you really calling me because of that reason, or something like that?
Well, no, because it was the other way. I was sort of the other end of the spectrum with it, because the people that were calling me were the sort of the technical managers for these companies, and they knew more than I did, and yet I was supposed to be advising them. So I was the idiot in that scenario.
Fair enough. I couldn't but think you got those kind of calls, because especially the testicle support call. Because, like, Mr. Strapnell working here, afraid. What's his first name? Jock. I couldn't but feel like, you know, you got a call like that. Because it just sounds so real, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
It's just, that's the kind of call I would have made, I think.
14-year-old Nick. Let's go technical support.
Exactly.
Hello, technical support. Mr. Strap, not working here, I'm afraid. What's his first name? Jock. Oh, I get it. Testicle support. Yes, that's incredibly funny. Moron.
So, after a few more videos, we got a trailer for Jeb's Jobs 3, which showed what I call classic Jeb. Then episode 3 itself showed Jeb with slight alterations, like a better-looking head, thicker glasses, stuff like that. Was the plan to redesign him always there, or did you decide to go for the redesign later in production?
It's been an incremental thing for. I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years now, which is crazy.
Bloody hell, yeah, time goes by.
And obviously, you know, the early ones, they look like shit. Let's be honest.
Yeah. It's early, you know. It's someone's early thing. Of course, it's going to look bad, but you know.
Yeah, which is fine as long as the jokes still work. That's fine.
Oh, of course.
So yeah, it's been an incremental thing, and there's been sort of quite long gaps between doing these things sometimes. So whenever I sort of come back to it after a period, I always sort of look back and think, you know, I want this to look nicer. I want to sort of up my game in terms of what I'm doing. So all the way along, I've always sort of tweaked and adjusted the models. And the original Jeb, you know, he had a certain charm, but he was also kind of ghastly.
Kind of ghastly, like pink hands all the way through, 3 fingers. He didn't even have a neck, if I recall right.
No, yeah, don't talk to me about Jeb's neck's a nightmare. Or his lack of neck. Yeah, so it's just this sort of constant drive to try and sort of up the game every time I do one. So I mean, so just recently during lockdown, I've kind of gone through and rebuilt all of the main characters again, and retextured them and re-rigged them all again. You know, so there's always a sort of push to improve.
Well, I mean, like there's always some areas where some people think they can improve. I mean, you always look at the evolution of something. Like, go back to Pixar. Like, you look at Toy Story, and then you look at Toy Story 4, and it's like night and day.
Yeah, absolutely, worlds apart. Absolutely.
Yeah, like it's especially like people like to compare the dog and the cat. Like, the cat, that is more like a realistic cat. It's like, Jesus, how do you get to that after so many years? It's baffling.
It helps to have, like, you know, 200 million quid to spend on it as well.
True, the money does kind of help as well.
Yeah, 700 people, you know. I've never had that advantage, sadly.
Hello, admin. Your profit-related bonus? Well, you know the CEO? Yeah, you know his wife? Well, she's driving it.
How long would you say it would take roughly to make an average video?
If you say an average video is maybe about sort of 3-4 minutes long, something like that, or
yeah.
It kind of depends on where it's set and what it's about, because the thing that takes the most time is actually building things for it. Fortunately, obviously, you know, the characters are mostly built, but sometimes they need to be recostumed and things. Yeah, so the longest process is often building the sets and modifying the characters and putting new costumes and things on them. So it's if there's a lot of that going on, which tends to happen when I do the Jeb's Jobs ones, you know, sort of in new environments and often introducing new characters, it could take anything up to 6 months to do one. Obviously not full time, because I've got other things to do.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I set out to do a Jeb's Jobs, I'm expecting it to take probably 6 months from start to end to get it to the level that I want to get it to.
Yeah, a lot of people really underestimate how long 3D animation takes. And it's like, especially when it's just one guy. Like I'm good friends with a couple of Sonic the Hedgehog 3D animators who do like source filmmaker stuff, and it's like, you know, when they do one, I mean, to be fair, they have all the assets because like that's all provided for them on like the stores and stuff like that. But even when they're doing the animation, it's like oof, because they got to do manual lip syncing and stuff like that. It's all just a faff.
It is a real faff, but you've really got to love what you're doing. And
you got to be really dedicated to keep it going.
The tricky thing as well that often is you've got to sort of have faith in the script because there is such a long sort of lead time between writing the script and then actually sort of seeing the thing done, and there are so many processes and so much work that if you don't believe in that script, you're not going to then sort of spend 3, 4, 5, 6 months working on it. You're going to sort of lose faith in it at some point midway, and I've done that a couple of times with a few things.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, where I've not been sort of particularly happy with the script going in. I started to do a Minecraft. Jeb does Minecraft. And it just wasn't quite there in terms of the writing. And I set it up and I did a lot of the building and I started to animate it, and I just thought, no, this isn't going to work. And I just had to sort of ditch it after a couple of months, which is...
It's actually kind of funny. I'm very sorry to interrupt.
That's right.
One of the questions that actually comes up later, might as well ask now because you brought it up.
Yeah.
Were there any plans to do like Jeb does video games, like maybe a Jeb's Job Super Mario Brothers or stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. There you go. The Jeb does Minecraft was quite an obvious one. And I think I still should. You know, because there are so many sort of things you could tap into. You know, Jeb does Fortnite or Jeb does...
Oh god, if you do Jeb does Fortnite, I'm unsubscribing. I cannot stand that game.
Well, this is the thing. This is why Jeb takes the piss out of these things.
True.
Yeah, but I mean, that's sort of quite a big overhead in terms of effort to try and sort of recreate those worlds. With the Minecraft one, I was literally sort of screen capturing Minecraft play, and then the intention was to sort of put Jeb into that as a character within the actual Minecraft world, as opposed to actually trying to rebuild the Minecraft world, you know, in 3ds Max and have him wander around in that, which would have just taken forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you'll notice probably with a lot of the videos, it's quite often it's Jeb sitting at a desk or Jeb standing sort of still in a room somewhere doing something or other. Those are quick and easy to do. But getting into somewhere where you've got to create an entire environment, particularly a game environment, that's a big time overhead, and therefore a bit sort of limiting when you're in a shed doing it yourself.
So it's something you've considered, but it's like considering all the effort, like it might not happen for a bit.
Yeah, I'd still like to do it, but I've got to sort of come up with the right idea that you know is going to sort of carry through putting all that work together and be worth it at the end of it. Because there's nothing worse than sort of putting all that effort and then looking at the finished product and thinking, actually, that doesn't really work, does it? That's not very good. Which has happened occasionally.
I mean, like, you know, you get people that doubt that works most of the time. I mean, surprisingly, you will get those situations where you would look at your own work, think, oh, that's probably not as good, and that somehow becomes your more popular thing.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's impossible to know what's going to land.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
The only sort of position you can take is if it makes me laugh when I write it, then it's probably going to make other people laugh when it's done.
Yeah.
But all we know is he's called the Stig. You're supposed to put the hat on first, you twat.
So at the start, it was Jeb and Ned. Then episode 3, you know, we introduced Roger, and we kept getting more characters like the Munters, Doug, and General Jones. Was there ever like a set theme for the characters, or was it a case of, you know, I want to do this scenario, but I need some new characters for it?
There's a little bit of that, yeah. I do like Doug. I like because a lot of the characters don't talk, which is good because they then just become sort of these silent foils for whatever Jeb does. But one of the things I think is most fun about the films is when people actually sort of interact with each other and you get the sort of stupid banter between characters. So increasingly I'm trying to sort of bring in characters that can actually have a conversation. And Doug is kind of a good sort of avatar for that, in that, you know, he is just this dysfunctional, horrible, awful individual, and I want all the characters to be deeply flawed, because I think flawed characters are so much more entertaining than superheroes, you know.
Yeah.
and putting a dickhead like Doug in almost any situation, he can make it awful. And that for me is where a lot of the humour lies. So the thing with all the characters is that they're likeable but terrible.
That's fair enough. It's quite interesting when you mentioned about the banter between them. It just reminds me of Jeb does Top Gear, which is like my second favourite video because it's just so ridiculous. I just can't help but laugh at it. It's when Jeb introduces Roger as like as like an old nonce, and like Roger doesn't react. He just goes, "I like toys," and it's like, "Wait, hang on a minute, what?"
And Roger over here is a floppy-haired nonce, so he's just like James May.
I like toys.
I'll tell you the tragic thing about the Top Gear one is that was released, I think, literally 2 weeks before Top Gear got cancelled.
Oh no, was it?
Yeah.
Ah, that couldn't be timed any worse.
So I jinxed Top Gear. It's appalling. But anyway.
You put see if Jeremy didn't put Richard the hamster in the Tupperware through Blender, probably would have been fine.
Yes, nobody would know. It would have been good.
Jeremy, he is in this small Tupperware box.
And how did you get him in there, Roger? James?
Blender.
Good.
Okay, so still speaking of the extra characters, have you ever made a character where you've regretted making them after? Like you made them and realised, oh, I can't actually do much with this one.
Mrs. Munter. I love Mrs. Munter because she's foul, but she's. I mean, she doesn't really speak apart from shouting fags at people, and she can't move. She's just such a massive, complicated mesh of blubber that actually sort of getting her to do anything, even turning her head with all the sort of double chins and all the rest of it, she's very limited physically, which is why she's sort of developed this thing of just kind of standing and staring and scratching her tits, which is about as much as she can do, which I think there's some humour in that. But yeah, I don't really regret doing it, but it means that I can't really use her as much as I'd like to.
I suppose there could always be some good like background comedy where, you know, she's in every scene, like she's somehow teleporting in between them.
Yeah. No,
Jim asks how the fuck she's always there. She's like, what? Just like not giving a response.
But no, now, Mrs. Munter, look, if I just close my eyes, it's like you could almost be a normal person, apart from the smell.
What?
Oh!
Okay, so you've been making animations for YouTube for well over a decade now. Has there ever been a point where you were worried about the content you made getting striked, or a moment when you felt like you had to follow a trend for more views?
No, not really. Going back to the Minecraft thing, that the sort of motivation for that a little bit was I was trying to sort of tap into something which, you know, a few years ago was probably more popular than it is now.
Oh no, it's still popular. It's still crazy popular to this day.
Yeah, well, no, it's still a big game, but it's in terms of, you know, what people are talking about, it's kind of been sort of overshadowed a bit by, you know, things like Fortnite and stuff. Yeah, there was, and that's partly why I abandoned that one, I think, because there was a sense that I was doing it because I was trying to tap into something that was, you know, sort of quite current. And that's never a good idea, really. You should just sort of do what entertains you and hope that other people go with it. Because the other problem is if you do something which is, you know, sort of zeitgeisty and very now, 6 months down the line, it's not interesting anymore and people don't watch it. You know, and I want people to sort of always be watching these things in the future. The Miley Cyrus thing as well, obviously that was a big deal whenever I did that, and that got a huge amount of attention. And the Charlie Bit My Finger as well, I suppose, you know, they were sort of tapping into trends, and now people, particularly with Charlie Bit My Finger, have no idea what that's about when they watch it, because
oh god, that makes me feel old.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But you know, sort of 6-7 years on or whatever it is from that, you know, people watch it now and go, what the fuck is this? Whereas at the time, everybody was doing Charlie Bit My Finger spoofs, and mine did quite well, thanks very much.
Ouch! 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 Oh, fucking hell, Charlie!
I actually did look at your remaster, Charlie Bit My Finger, and I did see a comment saying like, oh, someone ripped off your video by doing it in live action. I was like, I couldn't tell if they was serious or not, was the problem. I was like, please tell me you're joking, please.
I so hope that's true. That's great.
No, you can't say. I think it was one of the top comments. I think, but yeah, I do remember seeing it there, and I was like, oh god, no.
Hey,
But-
Tom, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
Yeah, we agreed to do this chat because we were talking on Facebook, and you told me about your music teacher.
Yes.
You tell me that story.
Okay, I can't remember most. I remember vividly watching it in music lesson. I think what it was. I don't know if you ever had this at school, but like, you know, when it's like the last week right before holidays, the teachers kind of give up with teaching stuff because they know the kids aren't really going to pay attention that much. This is in secondary school, year 7. You know, I was 11, and my music teacher thought, yeah, alright, let's show these 11-year-olds Jeb's Jobs 1 and 2, because why not? And I just remember my mate and I, after that, we couldn't stop quoting the Postman song. Because it was just so ludicrous. Because he was just, like, the teacher was there laughing his ass off. I think he fell off the chair because he couldn't fucking breathe. But, yeah, that happened. it was like right before Christmas. I remember that. It was like right before the Christmas holidays.
That's fantastically inappropriate. I love that.
Yeah, I know, right? You know, just like, yeah, sure, just like show Gav drawing a cock and balls on YouTube.
Exactly. 2 11-year-olds. Brilliant.
Well, it was I mean, to us, you know, whole class of us, but even still, it's like, I still couldn't understand what the hell was going through that teacher's head at the time, but hey, I wouldn't be here now, would I? Probably not.
Didn't get any complaints from parents then.
As far as I'm aware, no one told the parents.
Probably wise.
Probably. I mean, then again, 2 years later, I think, like, you know, we're watching way worse when, you know, the teacher said, yeah, we're bringing a DVD, and someone brought an 18+ film, and that was the only one everyone voted on, so... Children!
They're the best. They're awesome.
But, I do understand what we mean with following trends, because I don't know if you go on YouTube that much, but, it's like, whenever a game does well, you see a lot of YouTubers doing that game because, you know, they want the views, they want the money and stuff like that. I tried doing that once with Fortnite and as I was streaming it, I was like, oh my god, I am so bored. Thankfully, that became my most disliked stream, and I was like, oh thank god, I don't have to do it again. My fans don't want to watch me play Fortnite.
Vindicated, well done.
Pretty much, like I make my videos depending on, you know, like viewers' attention. If they like a game, then I'm going to keep playing it.
Yeah.
Then again, more often it is me, I want to play this game. I just more avoid trends because, you know, I want genuine views. You know, I don't want views because this is popular right now.
Yeah,
Normally I'll wait like a year or 2 years before I do play that game, if I do like it. Because it's kind of a good way to weed out, like, genuine viewers to trend hoppers.
Yeah. It's difficult with YouTube because obviously, you know, an awful lot of people are trying to make a living out of it, and it is a phenomenally difficult thing to do to make a living out of YouTube.
Oh yeah, like especially with how strict. I'm sorry, no, especially with how strict they're getting nowadays with the rules and stuff, like with copper and stuff like that. It's mental.
Yeah. But it's, you know, there's a sort of question over: are you doing it simply in order to get the views and try and make some money out of it, or are you doing it because you genuinely love what you're doing? And for me, it's always been the latter. Because, I mean, just in part, there's no way that as an animator I can create enough content to generate a significant amount of income from YouTube. So it's got to be about loving the thing that you're doing, and, you know, and trying to make a living elsewhere.
Honestly, a good way to tell if someone genuinely enjoys it is by the ads on their videos. Like, if you see those little yellow lines plastered throughout a 10-minute video, you could tell they just want the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like I remember when YouTube updated recently, to where, like, it was originally 10 minutes or more you could put a mid-roll ad. Then they increased it to 8 minutes, and a lot of people hated that idea because, you know, people hate mid-roll ads. In fact, you'll see people on YouTube purposely make their videos less than 10 minutes to not have a mid-roll ad in there.
Yeah.
But you get some people like, oh my god, fantastic idea! Now I can make shorter videos and put more ads in them. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Like you just expose yourself. You don't really care about your audience, do you?
Yeah, no, I'll go with that.
It's why I use an ad blocker anyway. They don't get my money.
Furious, what up?
Bollocks!
Thanks, Jeb.
So, as you've been doing more and more animations, obviously the quality's been improving with your work. Is it all just solo work, or are you occasionally getting in some help for the much bigger projects?
It is. I mean, I get additional voice actors periodically for various things. It is, trying to think back, almost 99.9% me doing everything. Yeah, I can't think that anybody has done music. I've got a couple of people I've worked with on the music side of things, but in terms of the visuals, yeah, I can't recall an occasion where somebody's helped with that. I'm trying to think. Oh, I'll tell you what there was. The beginning bit of Jeb's Jobs 3, where he's playing the video game. A camera guy friend of mine helped film that. I was going to ask about that. Like, I had an assistant at the time working on commercial stuff, and VFX particularly, helped with the, because we did a load of sort of, where the guy, well, it's me and shagging the sheep, where that guy gets shot, we had a load of pyros set up, blood squibs for that, so I had some help with that, but apart from that, no, it's all me.
I thought I told you to bugger off.
That's a more ambitious thing for like a 2-second joke.
Yes.
Kudos to you, my friend.
It's ridiculous. Nobody will remember, you know, a year later. It's crazy.
I thought I told you to bugger off.
You know this stuff so well. I'm impressed.
I was watching a lot of them, for the past 2 days to get all the questions I wanted to ask. So, yeah. But I mean, they're still funny and quotable. So you mentioned voice actors. Is the Jeb voice you?
Yes, the Jeb voice is me. And do ask me to do it.
Oh. No, I was more gonna ask like what was the kind of direction behind the Jeb voice? Because it's kind of like it sort of does and doesn't fit with the design, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I do. I don't know, because when I started making shorts, I hired actors in to perform the voice parts. So the first sort of few things that I did where they had sort of voice parts, I was hiring actors in, you know, sitting in a recording studio doing that, and that was all fine. But when I started doing Jeb, so I had this instinct that with Jeb I was going to do more than one film with him, and I thought, well, it's going to be a real fag if I try and sort of get an actor to come along and do the voice every time I want to do one of these films. So I thought, yeah, I'll have a crack. And I spent weeks driving home from work and driving to work, trying out different voices with a sort of script in my head, just mucking about with voices until I found that sort of slightly camp, slightly sort of Lancastrian voice that just seemed to sort of work with the text, if you know what I mean. Yeah. You know, because it started with the script, and then I found the voice that kind of seemed to suit the way that character spoke. And then it stuck, and yeah, it's whether it's the right voice for that character or not, I don't know, but it seems to sort of work quite well so far. So
kind of too late to change in any case.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you know, but we've been sort of tinkering around with trying to get a feature film up and running.
I was going to ask about that later on in the interview. Yeah, we'll talk about it now then, you know.
Yeah, but one of the first sort of questions that came up with the producer and the financiers was, obviously you want to sort of put a good cast in, and they said, who's going to play Jeb? It's like, well, it's going to be me. It's like, really? You're going to front this, you know, sort of expensive feature film? I said, well, if I don't, it's going to be a bit weird that people have watched Jeb for 15 years and then suddenly he's got a different voice. So there wasn't really an argument about that, but I had to sort of fight my ground a little bit on that.
I mean, I don't know, you know, you always see in Hollywood films, like, you know, Pikachu voiced by Ryan Reynolds, Shaggy voiced by, like, what was it, Zac Efron, and that's in the recent Scooby-Doo film.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's cool that you're sticking to your guns that you're going to be Jeb. I mean, you know, it's not out of the reach for producers wanting to be in their own work. Like, I think it's the director for The Incredibles voices Edna Mode.
Yes, he does. He does. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you would explain it to me, I would like, really? It's like, he's a good actor.
Well, the Minions in the Minions are done by the two directors, the voices for those.
Yeah, but does anyone really care about the Minions, though?
What, you don't like the Minions?
I hate the Minions.
Oh my god.
I'm an adult. I legally have to hate the Minions.
I love the Minions.
That's why Jeb does Minions. He would blend in some weird way as like a lanky fucking minion.
Yeah, just paint him yellow.
The sequel to Little Green Sausage Thing.
What, and you can really make 10 million quid doing that? But it's bollocks. Well, someone give me 10 million quid. And I've got a bigger willy.
So, has there ever been an idea of a possible Jeb video game?
Yes, we've talked about this sort of over the years in various forms. He doesn't really have enough traction yet to warrant a video game. I did build a little sort of platform game with Jeb, which we haven't released. It's just a little HTML5 game called Jeb's Tower of Power. He basically has to jump over a big knob, is what it is.
Of course. I was waiting for the punchline.
Obviously.
I can imagine Jeb in like certain genres, like maybe a shooter, maybe like a choose your own path sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I'm copywriting this, but the game, whatever it might be, I've had the name for it for years, where it would be a sort of kind of Jeb tries to do sort of Call of Duty something, but in Jeb style, completely incompetent. And the title of the game would be Jeb Goes Commando.
For God's sake.
Guns. Are they bad? But why exactly are they so bad? So that answers that question.
You're like going Ratchet and Clank level with the bloody names.
Yeah.
Because there were like innuendos like up your arsenal, going commando is actually one of them.
Exactly. There you go.
Welcome to Moving House, Moving House, Moving House, Moving House.
So, when you're not animating, what do you do in your spare time? Are your animations your full-time job, or do you have like a main job on the side?
Well, my job is an animator, so I'm a commercial animator. I work for myself, and I sit in this shed, and I do animations for other people. That's my my main job. So I'm self-employed, which is very nice. Work from home in my little garden, in my little what's it called, shepherd's hut thing, high security shepherd's hut.
High security shepherd's hut with a lot of equipment in the back, I'm noticing.
Yeah, you should see this way. It's just screens.
Oh Jesus! Was the shed where that little live-action moment of Jeb's Job 5 was filmed?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, looking in the other direction.
All right.
Yeah.
What? I thought it was like a big skateboard sort of thing. Is it what? Floating helicarrier with what? Repulsor engines and a cloaking device? Nah, I can't do that, mate. I'll tell you what, I'll do you an ironing board.
A part of me thought that was actually you, but you know, like fat slouch, like as an animator normally stereotypically is.
That's me. Well,
oh, is it? Oh,
I had longer hair at the time, as you may know. Yeah.
Going through a phase, I see.
Well, it comes and goes. Bloody hate going to the hairdressers. So I tend to shave it and then grow it for about a year and then shave it again.
Oh, and lick my... really? Blah, mother effer, blah, racial epithet. Oh, a lot of racial epithets. Bitch again, and a ham-fisted attempt to shoehorn in some sort of disingenuous social commentary. Very good. Shush.
Have you ever been recognised in the public for your animations, or have you ever gotten in trouble for your work when people realise you were the one who made the vid?
No, I've never. I've always longed to be recognised, which is a bit sad. Like in my wallet, I've probably got it here. Actually, I've got. I don't know if you can see that.
Just like to pull out Tesco as you're paying for something, hope someone sees it.
So like, whenever I sort of go to a till or whatever, that comes out. Not one person's ever acknowledged it.
Oh, that's depressing.
I know, it's appalling. But then, if I look like Jeb, they'd recognise me perhaps, but, they're not going to recognise me, so that's fine. There's something nice about being an anonymous behind an animated character.
Maybe just like start randomly talking in the Jeb voice. Maybe that might make a bit of a difference.
It would certainly clear a space, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What the fuck's that guy saying? I don't know. I don't want to be around that guy. Your family's slowly drifting further away as you talk more with the Jeb voice.
That's why I'm in the shed, mate.
What does your family think of the Jeb's animations?
Well, they love it. I mean, I got two lads, two teenage boys, and they, I did the first Jeb when my about a year after my youngest was born. So they've grown up with it, so it's just completely natural for them, and Jeb is just part of life. But my eldest in particular, he particularly likes it because and he'll kill me for telling you this, but Jeb's Jobs too. The picture of is it Jessica?
Jessica's drawn a lovely picture of a balloon floating in a lovely sunny sky. But if you lift up the balloon, who do you think's underneath? It's Jessica! Oh, Christ.
Is that him?
That's him.
Oh my god!
Shocked, obviously.
Obviously, yeah, because Jesus Christ, like, how did you reach a kid? But, oh my god.
So he asked me for that. And he gets called Jessica occasionally.
God, I fucking love that. Oh, Christ. He fucking sees that picture. It's one of the better. It's why I love that episode. It's just so. They're children, not morons. Just see Tim and Tom just.
The children, not morons.
Like the puppet is underneath, like, right.
If there was one I was going to go back to and sort of repurpose and sort of redo with a new, to upgrade it to the new sort of style, it's that one that I'd do, I think.
Oh, mate, I'll be there first in line to watch that shit, let me tell you.
In fairness, I probably won't, but,
No, but if you ever do, I'm definitely going to be there.
Who rats is dribble?
In other stuff you mentioned on your channel, you spoke about They Came, feature film you're working on. Is it a planned actual cinematic and theatrical with DVD release, or is it just something you're planning for YouTube audience so far?
It's a proper film. It's the plan is to go to cinemas if cinemas ever open again. And this has been the hold up actually, because it's an expensive thing to make, and we've got the offers of money to do it, but we're struggling with getting distribution because it's a going into a market that isn't particularly well established, because it's a sort of adult orientated comedy animated feature film. There aren't huge numbers of precedents. You've got things like Sausage Party and the South Park movie and Team America. They kind of sort of sit within that area, but it's not like they've been sort of 30 years of making animated comedies for grown-ups that have established that there's an active market for it. So that's what we're struggling, and this is the thing that's really slowed us down, is people are willing to give us the money, and we've got this sort of amazing group of actors attached to the project, but unless we can get a distributor to agree to put it into cinemas or to put it out on the SVOD platforms, we can't sign off the deal for the money to actually get on and make it. So we're really in sort of limbo at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's the intention. It's written as, and it's cast as, and it's budgeted as, a full-on proper big shiny feature film.
Yeah, it does always bother me whenever people disregard animation as for kids, where it's like, back in the 40s, 50s, cinemas are filled with adults watching Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry and stuff. It's like, when did the whole kids come into this market? Was it just because of the cartoons?
Yeah.
I feel adult animations could be done. I mean, Family Guy, The Simpsons, American Dad, South Park, they're crazy popular. They just need to be out there more, more films, more adult films. They could definitely work.
I could talk for several hours about this. This is a real bugbear for me, because this all sort of started 5 years ago, trying to do a Jeb TV series, which we sort of got some traction with. But in the UK in particular, or in the UK specifically, there is this mindset that animation is for kids, despite all the precedents, despite everything that's sort of coming over from the States, as you say, your Family Guys and your South Parks and all the rest of it, which say clearly there is a huge market for grown-up animated comedy, which spans sort of teens through to people my granddad's age. He's dead. My father's age. There's there's a massive sort of marketplace for this stuff, but persuading anybody in the UK to take a risk on doing it is an absolute bloody nightmare. And we've spoken to so many broadcasters, pitched so many ideas, demonstrated that Jeb's got this sort of established market online. detailed these compelling precedents from the States, as we say, and yet cannot get anybody to sort of think outside the box sufficiently to say, yes, let's actually try and do a good UK originated adult comedy animation for TV. Nobody will go with it. We've talked to almost everybody, and then hence we sort of, having sort of been banging our head against the door with that, we said, well, let's make a feature film, because that's a slightly easier sort of proposition, because you can just make a feature film. You don't have to have a commission from a broadcaster to go off and make a feature film. But then we've got the same sort of story from the distributors, that they're not willing to take the risk because they don't believe that there's a convincing precedent that people want to watch animated comedy for grown-ups. But there is, but they won't believe it. And it's
have you ever considered maybe trying overseas, like maybe maybe pitching the TV show and the film idea to like American distributors, see what they say?
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult sort of ask to sort of sit in the UK and convince people in America, particularly at the moment, because
yes,
getting over there, you have to go and have meetings with these people. You can't really do it over Zoom. I imagine they're sort of changing their habits a little bit, but my experience is that even if you got two things to say, you've got to get on a train or a plane and go and meet these people and sit in their office and put the your trailer up on a big screen and have that conversation. So bobbing to and fro with to America to do that would be impossible, really, sadly.
Who knows? Maybe you might get your calling soon, eh?
Yeah, well, we're still chatting about it. We've still got sort of routes. We're sort of tinkering around with contracts at the moment for a slightly sort of different option in terms of financing, which might actually sort of help us progress. So, it's still very much a live thing, but it's slow. It's so slow.
Yeah. So you make the film for a while now. Has COVID caused any issues with the production?
Only insofar as I haven't been able to motivate myself to do anything. Yeah, because when COVID started, I had the script for Jeb's Jobs 6.
Oh.
Kind of already written. And I thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity. I've got plenty of time on my hands. A lot of my work dried up, as it did for so many other people. And I thought, okay, time. So I built Jeb's Job 6. I've built the environments. I've done all the voice recording and edited the audio track together. I've started to animate, and I just kind of dried on it, which is infuriating, because I think it's a really good script, and the setup's good, and it's a nice sort of fast-paced, sort of quite sharp thing that actually tells a bit of a story and has got most of the characters in it. It's an ambitious thing, but I was sitting in here and the world was in crisis outside, and I just couldn't find the motivation to do it, to put in the hours that it needed. I needed to sort of be with my family and feel like I wasn't sort of living this weird isolated little life that's required. So it's kind of it's probably about a fifth done so far in sort of 9-10 months. Yeah, and I'll get there, but over the last few days I have started thinking, well, maybe there's something that I can do that's a little bit sort of simpler and quicker to do, which I might be able to sort of approach with a bit more enthusiasm, because it's not quite such a laborious job. So I am sort of starting to write something now, which I might be able to sort of get done in the next sort of month or two.
That's fair enough. I mean, I didn't even know you're making a Jeb's Job 6, so I'm very looking forward to that.
Yeah,
that's going to be very interesting. Though, in talks of the film, considering you've been working on it for a few years now, what percentage would you say the film is nearing completion?
The film? 0.
Oh. I thought you would have done some work on it or something like that.
No, I haven't even rolled the camera on it, as it were.
Well then, fair enough.
Sadly, it does. Yeah, I mean, the problem is, because it's what it is, and it's it's a big ambitious thing. It needs a proper team to do it. we've done some production design work on it. We've done some sort of character remodeling and built some new characters. General Jones, for example, is built for that.
Oh.
And you know, done an awful lot of the sort of background planning and budgeting and scheduling, blah, all the kind of boring stuff you don't see. But in terms of actual, you know, sort of seconds of film in the can, not a single one.
Well then. 5 years and you're at this progress.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing. You know, this is. I had a sense that, you know, getting films made takes a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The thing that really takes the time is getting to the point where you can start making the film. You know, and we've been, yeah, I mean, it pretty much is 5 years now that we've been talking and negotiating and casting and budgeting, you know, and doing all those things that you have to do before you can get started. And we still don't have a green light on it as yet.
I suppose, you know, worst case scenario, there could always be a route of crowdfunding.
Yeah, I've tried crowdfunding Jeb stuff before, and I don't know why it doesn't seem to work, which is it's interesting. It's not really annoying because it's other people's money, and you know, do with your money what you want to do. That's absolutely fine. But I think because you know, everybody expects content to be free. You know, YouTube is free, and you know, people spend most of their time when they're looking for entertainment watching stuff which is basically delivered to them for free. The idea that actually, you know, you dipping in your pocket and contributing towards it is quite alien these days. Back when I started, people did actually sort of contribute. I had a little funding thing going on early on, but now, you know, if there's a thing that wants you to pay to watch it, you just go and watch something else, and I get that. But, you know, that's fine. I'd do exactly the same. So crowdfunding's been a bit of a problem, and to crowdfund to the extent that you'd need to make a feature film, I think would be nigh on, particularly an animated feature film, because you know it's a year to 18 months work with a team of, you know, a dozen at least. It's a very expensive thing to do, so crowdfunding to that level I think would be problematic at least. The other side to that is that if that's going to work, you've got to be able to guarantee that you can put content up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Rapidly and speedily, which with animation is just not going to happen. So
no,
you know, yeah, and also, you know, crowdfunding a couple of million quid, that's a big ask, you know, which is what we need. So
yeah, and of course the problem is, like, you know, the crowdfunding projects that are successfully funded that turn out to be like scams or not worth the money. Like it leads people to distrust crowdfunding campaigns.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's like the first example that immediately comes to mind when I think of that is Mighty No. 9. You ever heard of that game?
No.
It was so it was a game like based in the Mega Man. Well, not based in the Mega Man. Inspired by the Mega Man universe. Directed by the original Mega Man creator, and it got $4 million, and it's awful. Like, you know, it got delayed for like 3 years, I believe. And when it finally came out, the creator essentially said it's better than nothing. And it's like, you know, that was $4 million of the people's money.
Yeah.
And you gave us this, like, where did the rest of it go? But yeah, it's stuff like that where it's like you can't really trust crowdfunding campaigns sometimes. You know, like, I kind of say that because I kind of want to go into crowdfunding campaign because I kind of want to get my book out there easier, like to help cover publishing costs.
Yeah.
Only so much people can do.
Yep, you look exactly the same.
I've got a hammer.
So after the film has been made, you know, when it gets made, would that probably see the end of Jeb for a while?
Oh God, no. Jeb's going until I drop, you know. Going into it, I was advised, because obviously we got the script for the first for the film. I was advised to also outline 2 sequels to it. There's also a TV series potentially that we would like to spin off of it. So no, absolutely. If we get to make the feature film, to my mind, that's the beginning of Jeb.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't. It's perfectly reasonable for other people not to feel like this, but for me, I can just see so much mileage in those characters. You know, there's because you can pick them up and you can stick them in anything. And in any scenario, there's going to be a way for them to make a mess of it and have fun and be entertaining. And my pitch, a little, which I've used sort of with various people with regard to the feature, is that it's like picking up the cast of Gogglebox and putting them in Independence Day, and then just seeing what happens.
I want to see that now. I really want to see that.
So it's like you can just do that with anything, you know. So the bigger and more ambitious and more Hollywood the scenario, the more those idiots stand out and fail to succeed, you know. And I just think there's a huge amount of mileage in that setup. So yeah, no, yes, if we get the feature film, that's Jeb day one, and then we see what happens after that.
So pretty much what you're saying is that all like uphill from here, like the moment the film gets made.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. You know, but then again, it might be massively successful, and I'll become hugely wealthy and just sit on a yacht somewhere, which would also be fine.
What about the Jeb sequel? What sequel?
Exactly.
I'm on a yacht, bitch. You can't do shit. All right. Well, I mean, thank you very much for your time. It's been amazing interviewing you for what I thought was going to be about 20 minutes, turned out to be an hour.
That's all right, mate. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. Nice to meet.
Do you have anything you want to end off, like, you know, say to the audience before I do my little outro thing?
Yeah, one thing I'd say is that I know Jeb comes infrequently, but it's always there. Hang on, that sounds wrong.
Oh, he comes all right.
Let's start that again. Yeah, just that. Yeah. Oh fuck! I don't know what I was going to say now. I've just got the word "cum" in my head.
Yeah, you are the Jeb animator, all right.
It's a Sunday morning as well. What's going on? Should be at church, man. Yeah, to your audience, to the audience, just that, you know, Jeb turns up occasionally, but he'll always come back. So, you know, be patient with me, and there will always be more Jeb.
We got there in the end.
Double thumbs up, because I'm a wanker.
Oh, fucking yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Go away.
And like I said at the start of this interview, if for some reason you have not seen the Jeb T Sausage Freak channel and the content, they will be linked down below. Do check them out, like, because Jesus Christ, they are absolutely amazing. And yeah, that's all I got to say, really. Other than subscribe, see you later. Thank you guys so much for watching. He's been Nick Forshaw, and I'm Sergeant Major Mario saying, ciao!